Hey everyone, and welcome to another Nicholas the Traveler farming tutorial. As you can see, the footage is sped up, so this is post-commentary. I hope I'll still be able to make it worth a watch. So he needs Dessicated Hydra Claws this week, or he wants them. And yeah, you farm these in the Crystal Desert. The place I'm showing you right now, the farming route is outside Augury Rock. And I'm using a 55 HP monk build, just because it works very nicely. You can obviously use different builds if you feel they are more viable. I guess you could use since they're all melee, you could use some sort of 100 Blades or a VOS spike, or you might be able to do this with a perma, I don't know. It's a little annoying because they have some point blank spells which will go through shadow form and still hurt a bit, but yeah. I did record live commentary for this, but it's a fairly long run, so I decided to speed it up. So the live commentary was kind of referencing stuff that was happening at the time. I'm hoping it's still okay. So when you do 55 this, just keep in mind they don't have any burning or anything really nasty. They just kind of hit you for 5 damage each. So you can even afford to drop your defensive enchantments for short time frames without dropping instantly. And yeah, obviously choose whatever damage skills you prefer. I think Spiteful Spirit works best. I did give it a try with Visions of Regret before, but they don't spam skills enough to make Visions really worth it. So yeah, Spiteful Spirit it works a lot better, I guess. Just, I guess, maintain your enchantments, run in, and for your defensive enchantments, especially for Shielding Hands, that's a quarter-second cast. You can usually time it so the meteors don't interrupt it. So I would recommend using I Am Unstoppable just before you cast your first Spiteful Spirit, after you're happy with the amount of Hydras you've pulled. And then that way you'll be immune to knockdown for the first and second cast of Spiteful Spirit, and 2 casts of it is enough to bring down the group. So you basically cast Spiteful Spirit on one target, switch targets, and then once it's recharged you Spiteful Spirit the second target, and then they all drop eventually. So yeah, don't use I Am Unstoppable immediately. It's not really necessary most of the time. I keep the U map open. I occasionally close it and reopen it. Don't mind that. So you can see the path I take. There's a lot of Hydras in this area, and it's right outside an outpost, so it's easy to farm them here. And yeah, as you can see here, if there's a single Hydra, you don't even need Shield of Absorption. Just using Shielding Hands on recharge is easily enough to maintain your health. And since you only have 55 health, if you're not at full health at the end of a fight, you will probably be at full health again at the beginning of the next fight. So that's just fine. So then we go. We just basically follow the way. If you're bored and this is too long for you, it's still 17 minutes ish. So I could understand if this is a little boring to you. Just skip to the end and you'll see the path I've taken. There's basically two arches, wings, whatever, to this farming place. I think I was discussing alternate skills at this point, so I opened the skill menu. Again, don't mind that. Yeah, in the center, obviously, there's the mission area for the Augury Rock mission, but above it and below it on the map is where a lot of Hydras can be found. They're not always linked in groups, which is... I thought they were linked, and so I left that one Hydra up there standing, but it's not actually linked, so it kind of just stood there, I guess. And there, I got interrupted on Spiteful Spirit, but it's okay. if you get interrupted on Prod Spirit or one of your defensive spells, that could cause your death. Obviously, getting interrupted on Spiteful Spirit is just going to slow you down a little bit. I'm not going into detail on how a 55 monk works. If you don't know that, you've missed a bit of history, and there's plenty of information still out there on how to 55. It's not really done anymore, I guess. But occasionally it still works. I guess I mentioned this in the live comment at the very beginning. There is, at least with this build, you cannot do this in hard mode. You used to be able to, but in hard mode the Hydras have Phoenix, and Phoenix has been updated since this farm has... Well, since the farm has been popular, basically. It's no longer popular, it used to be. But back in the days this was done in hard mode, but yeah, since those days Phoenix has been updated and it's now a heal. So it heals for too much, basically. You cannot out-damage the Phoenix spam of a couple of Hydras if they're standing right in front of you. You might be able to if you've pulled 2, maybe 3, but it's gonna be slow. And anything more than that, and they will heal themselves faster than you can damage them. So you will basically never be able to kill them. You'll just kind of stand there and eventually get a crucial interrupt and die, so it's pointless. Which is why I'm going in normal mode. You could bring... I looked up this during live commentary. I was saying that there's a curses spell, which it's a hex, which makes enemies miss, but increases their attack speed. And you could bring that to basically increase the damage Spiteful Spirit does. And you could drop Blessed Aura for it, for example. Or you could even drop I Am Unstoppable. It's just kind of peace of mind utility there. I looked up the name and I forgot. I think it's Price of Failure, but no, Price of Failure is a different one. Reckless Haste. I think it's Reckless Haste. Anyway, that would make them attack faster, which would make Spiteful Spirit trigger more often, and you might even be able to get a group down in a single cast of Spiteful Spirit. I'm not certain. But yeah, that's just, I guess, the one of the options you have. As I said, I did try it with a Visions of Regret damage skill that works as well. It would probably work better on a primary Mesmer, but I prefer having the additional defensive duration on well, on all the defensive spells on a Monk, because you have runes for protection and such, and Divine Favor. A Mesmer would obviously do more damage, and you could obviously also do this on a 55 Necro. Spiteful would do more damage, but you would you'd need to be more careful with your defensive abilities, basically. Shield of Absorption wouldn't last as long, and Shielding Hands wouldn't be as... Actually, it doesn't matter. Shielding Hands is still fine. Just Shield of Absorption would have less duration, especially without Blessed Aura. And that's the first part of the farm done. If you're kind of not feeling it or something, you could now just resign out and start the run over and just do this top branch of the area. But there's at least the rumor that you get better drops the longer you've been in an area and the more enemies you've killed. So just in case that's true, and especially for this recording, it turned out to be true in this particular instance, which it might not be generally true, but for me in this case it worked out. So I would recommend doing the whole farm, because the longer you are in the area, the higher the drop chance gets. At least that's what some people believe. It's also what I've kind of experienced, but I have no sort of statistically significant amount of evidence to support that claim. It's just that feeling, like the feeling that drops get worse as you continue farming, which if you've ever farmed Vaetirs for a long time, you kind of notice that in the beginning you got a lot of golds and later on it kind of petered off and became a lot less. I don't think anyone's ever done solid research on that, but it's a feeling. And the same goes for this, just in order to make farming less appealing, I guess. They may have changed it so that just farming small groups and just killing small amounts of enemies in the beginning of an area doesn't get you as many drops as killing a lot of them. And yeah, there's really a lot of Hydra still left in the second area, and I think I tried to pull this Hydra along, but I felt he might sort of leash and leave me alone, so I decided to just kill him here. You have the energy and the damage to kill the single Hydra by itself. There's no issue. They have no heals in normal mode. In hard mode, as I said, they have Phoenix, and that's a heal, and it's annoying. In normal mode, you can just kind of ignore how long it takes to kill them, because they can't heal up. They don't have restoration aura or anything like that. I think the total run took me about 33 minutes-ish, a little longer. But I got, I think, 11 claws on that run, so that's all I need for a single account, basically. So I think I ended up going out 2 or 3 times in total, and I had enough for both of my accounts. And even some left over to just give away. So it's really, the drop rate is fine, and just because there's so many of these Hydras, you end up farming a lot of enemies and just getting a bunch of stuff. Now this area is a little annoying because there's a bunch of patrols around here, and the Hydra patrols are obviously fine, but the enchanted patrols, the enchanted bows and such, you don't want to mess with those. You're not really designed to farm them. They could probably ruin your day a little bit. So you just kind of run around pulling stuff and try to avoid those patrols which are nasty for you. And as you can see there, I kind of dropped my defensive, my shielding hands for a moment, and didn't have anything else up, but it worked out just fine. It's not that problematic. Just in case you do happen to die, you don't have to rezone instantly. You can always try taking off a piece of armor, which, though it seems counterintuitive, but it's just fine. Because that'll increase your health, because you don't have the superior rune anymore. And that might then lead to you having a decent amount of health for the 55 monk build to just function, I guess. Because it doesn't have to be precisely 55 to work out. If you have 40, that works out. If you have 60 or 70, that works out. I've done it with 100 and something and it still worked, so yeah, just something to keep in mind. You can always play around with which armor pieces you equip and the death penalty amount you have to kind of get your health to a, I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 150, I guess. That would be feasible. You definitely don't want more than 10 times the amount of health that Shielding Hands protects against. So in my case, 190. You definitely don't want more than that, because that would be really bad news. But aside from that, you can deal with a bit of a morale boost and a bit of a death penalty. Recording this late at night, so I've obviously been talking all day in TeamSpeak and such, so yeah, my voice is a little used up. Anyway, if you've done this run to I guess a few times, you will easily work out the timing on the meteors and such, and you just kind of instinctively start counting how many meteors have hit me now, and then you have a bit of downtime, or the enemies have a bit of downtime because the meteors need to recharge, and it's all just fine. I think at this point I actually thought this was the last group, so I may have done some silliness, but it's not the last group. There's actually a few more left on the map, and just in case it is true that you get better drops the longer you farm, I would recommend doing them, because there's not really a downside. If you rezone now and just start over, you don't actually, yeah, I thought that this was it, but I actually went to check and then it wasn't. There's still a few groups left. But yeah, restarting basically wouldn't save any time, and there's a chance that it leads to better drop rates. It's just a chance, but yeah. I think that the first arc up there gave me about 3 claws, and the second gave me 6. Or maybe even more, maybe 8? I don't know, I don't remember. You could obviously watch the video and you'd know, but I apparently don't. And it's just it's a feeling that a lot of people have, and that might very well be true. It's the kind of thing that they would do, but there's no real sort of solid evidence for it. It's just kind of, it might be the case, but just in case it is, there's no downside in this case to just doing the whole thing. For other farms, obviously, it would be disadvantageous to try and kill many things. It just wouldn't work out. But in this case, you just kind of keep going until all the hydras are dead, or until you can't really move any further. So yeah, I guess that's really about it for all those that have tuned in to the end of the video to see the to see the full path. I'm about to blow up the minimap, and there you go. That's the path I've taken throughout the area, and that covers pretty much all the hydras I am aware of in this area, and that's a bunch of them. It might be 50, 60-ish, a fair amount, so you will get a bunch of Hydra Claws from this. I hope you found this helpful, and I obviously wish you the best of luck farming these items, and I guess get many Gwendolls from the gifts, which I never do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I guess that's it from me for now. Bye.